Good morning, everyone. So wanted to give you the very latest on Tropical Storm Dorian, as well as ask some questions about just how close is it going to come to Puerto Rico, right? Like, what do people in Puerto Rico, and the USVI for that matter, have to worry about with this storm? So I want to bring in Jeff Berardelli. He is our climate and weather contributor. He's also a meteorologist. He was on CBS this morning. Today, it is Monday, talking about the very latest.
Yeah.
What are the winds as of now?
So the winds are 60 miles an hour. Last night they were 50, and yesterday afternoon they were 40. So clearly it's getting stronger. Puerto Rico does have to watch this system, but first it's going to move through the Lesser Antilles. So if you're watching from places like St. Lucia, Barbados, you're going to see tropical storm force winds. You know, this is not likely to ever become a really big hurricane. So the folks that are thinking about, let's say, Maria or Irma, don't worry about impacts in terms of winds like that. But just because a storm doesn't have strong winds doesn't mean it doesn't have a lot of heavy rain. Now, it's a small storm, so that's good news. That will, probably curb some of the impacts that you'll see. But as we head into, so the Lesser Antilles, the impacts tonight and tomorrow, then Wednesday is the critical day in Puerto Rico. Winds could be around 75 miles an hour. That's the official forecast track. But remember, even with all the technology meteorologists have, we're still not 100% clear on exactly how strong storms are going to. It's still very hard to forecast the strength of a storm. What I can say is it looks like Puerto Rico is going to be on the stronger, the right-hand side of the storm. And if the winds are 75 miles an hour, everybody's going to be fine wind-wise, right? There might be an isolated tornado or two. The bigger story is going to be the rain. As it comes up like this, it pushes all that tropical moisture into Puerto Rico. And as you know, if you live in Puerto Rico, it's especially the mountainous regions, the hilly regions, in the valleys where that water runs off. So I would say start thinking about the impact in terms of rain and not so much wind.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So looking at the cone, right? So
Yeah.
the cone, you've all seen with what I posted, the National Hurricane Center sort of has this cone of projected path, right? Movement. So Puerto Rico's on the right-hand side, and it's sort of at the
Edge-ish?
the edge of the
Edge-ish?
cone,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
my question to you is, how far south? I realize it's still early,
Yeah.
but we're within 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
How far south might the storm move, and is it possible that it sort of skirts Puerto Rico or doesn't really affect Puerto Rico?
Well, skirts Puerto Rico, yes. Doesn't really affect Puerto Rico, probably not. It's a small storm. Doesn't have a huge circulation. It is conceivable it'll go even further south than the projections right now. Puerto Rico is decently in the cone, but yes, on the northern edge. But remember, that's also the wetter side of the storm. It's the stronger side of the storm. So to say that there's not going to be any impacts would almost be impossible. I'll tell you why. Because even if the storm misses Puerto Rico, you still have strong inflow into Puerto Rico going up the sides of the mountains that pushes the air upward vertically in the atmosphere, causes thunderstorms to form. So you're going to have enhanced rainfall anyway because you'll be within the circulation parameters of the storm. So I would say start thinking rainfall impacts. Don't minimize the wind impacts, because if you do get a Cat 1 hurricane, it will cause some damage. But I would say at this point I would be thinking about more, do you live in an area that typically floods during big rainstorms? That's a possibility with this storm. As it passes by Puerto Rico, Wednesday's a big day.
And we can't lose sight of the fact that even when it rains when it's sunny in Puerto Rico, the power goes out, right? So this rain could seriously impact an electrical grid that many of you know is already in a very, very weakened state.
And remember, even if the winds are only 40 or 50, you may not get damaged necessarily, but the grid, which is obviously very fragile still, could be damaged, and that's what you were mentioning, so I'm glad you brought that up. Wednesday's the big day to watch out for that. Also, I imagine people are thinking, okay, is it going to hit Florida? And it's a little too early to know, but most of the computer models do push it towards the Bahamas and Florida by next Saturday, Sunday. Now, by that point, first it's going to have to dodge a lot of bullets. The environment in the Caribbean right now is not really very conducive to development or to sustaining the storm. It's actually fairly hostile. So the likelihood is that it's really going to have to evade a lot of blows from the atmosphere. If it can jump through all these hoops and get past the mountains of Haiti and Dominican Republic and get past any of the wind shear, the strong wind shear in the atmosphere, it will emerge somewhat intact in the Bahamas. How intact will it be? Will it be a tropical depression or a tropical wave? Will it have time to get its act back together again before it gets to Florida, let's say next Sunday-ish, give or take? That's the big question that we have. And that's a question we cannot answer right now, but anyone who lives in Florida knows very well that any storm moving through the Caribbean that's headed towards Puerto Rico, that's headed towards Haiti and the Dominican Republic, it can be unpredictable, and you need to watch it closely.
So if you live in the USVI, especially if you live in Puerto Rico, you are being advised to get up to 10 days of necessities, so water, food, don't forget your pets, of course. You guys have seen in the videos I've posted long lines of people standing at the Sam's Club and the Costco and other convenience stores getting ready. One woman, Jeff, told me in Puerto Rico we used to buy beer and have a party when hurricanes move through, and after Maria, there's like some PTSD, right? And people are sort of so gun shy that even though this is not expected to be anywhere near Maria,
not even close.
People are preparing, and as a meteorologist who I know has worked in Florida and told people to prepare, you can't always get the weather predictions right, but this is the time to get ready.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Today is the day that you need to start preparing in Puerto Rico, because it's a small storm, and it's something meteorological, a little nerdy and meteorological here is small storms are not very well predicted by computer models. And the reason is small storms have very small features that cannot be seen as well by a computer model that's trying to model the whole world. So they can intensify rapidly. The storm will still end up being very small, but you might have a core of winds that are very strong at the center. It's predicted to be a Cat 1, but remember, as a small storm, the models do not forecast it very well. So you should always prepare for a category beyond what is expected. Right now it's expected to be a 1. We always say prepare for a category 2. And if that's the case, it will certainly cause some disruptions in infrastructure and power in Puerto Rico if it hits you close to directly.
What are the chances, as of right now, again, it's on that sort of edge of the cone, right? Looking like it'll pass, affecting areas, Ponce, the southern part of the island, the most with rainfall. What's the chance it continues to skirt to the northeast and makes more? I mean, is that a chance?
Yeah, sure.
Within the next 48 hours?
Yeah, I mean, it's evidenced by the track from the National Hurricane Center. They have not shifted it further south. Yesterday they shifted it south, but then last night they did not shift it further south, which leads me to believe that it's kind of steady as she goes right now. The trend that was moving this further south away from Puerto Rico has ceased. Now we have to watch and hope that another trend doesn't develop where it pushes it further north again. At this point, a Category 1's passing within 100 or 200 miles possibly of the island, maybe even closer. You just have to prepare for the possibility of a Cat 1 or maybe even Cat 2 just to be on the safe side. And, I don't think I need to tell people in Puerto Rico this. They know better than anyone on earth right now that you want to take these things seriously.
And they do. And they do. Okay, everyone, I will keep you posted. Happy Monday. Have a good day.